get moving. The channel is on, they playing your song, you better get tuned in. Don't hesitate and get wiped off the plate. The meal was already paid for, you should've just said it.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's another episode of Live in the Studio. We are here officially kicking off season 3 with One Way North. How are you? It's very nice to meet you and have you here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to kind of like just kick off because it's season 3, and so this is the first episode we're filming. I'm not quite sure. I'm sort of sure we'll probably put this one out first, right? Before we start all this off, will you introduce yourself to us and tell us about your music background?
Okay. So my name is Domenice Adria Elcock Barnes. And well, I was born in Winston-Salem. I've always done music. I don't think there was ever a time where music wasn't a part of my life, whether it was my parents singing in the house or being at my aunt's piano when I was a baby and having like pictures of that where like I didn't know what was going on. I was just sitting at this thing, made noise. I started singing when I was really, really young. Mm-hmm. And I remember when my mom would be like, "What are you doing?" Because I guess I was just running around and singing really loud. And she was like, okay. And then later they were like, "We should probably get her some voice lessons and stuff if this is something that she's going to be doing." So I started voice lessons when I was like 11 and piano around the same time. So I did those. And I fought singing in front of people for a very long time.
I share that. That's totally valid.
Which was weird because at home you would have thought like, oh, yeah, spotlight and whatever. But as soon as I was in front of people, I'd be like, yeah, no, that's not for me. No, I'm cool. My parents pushed me into singing at church. And I had a really bad attitude about it, but I had a lot of great mentors at church who were just like, no, you come on out here, you do the thing. And then eventually I was just like, I love this. This is something that I enjoy. But music has become basically kind of like my lifeline to God. It's how I communicate with him. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that he communicates to me comes through music. And so basically I just look at it as a language that we share. And then also that kind of translates to how like other people receive music as well. It is literally a language that you have to learn. Yeah. I think it's a heavenly language first and foremost. And I honestly don't know what I'd do without it. Yeah. A lot of things that I went through, even through like my youth and stuff, it all came out in music. Yeah. And it was a way to channel like stories. And I loved writing when I was younger. And I had a bit of an imagination. So I used to lie a lot when I was a little kid.
What? Kids don't lie. That's not normal.
Like,
of course they do.
To the point where it's just like, you ever know when someone has something, but it's like they don't know it's a superpower yet, so they misuse it?
Yeah.
That's what was happening. And then realized later, it's like, oh, you like to tell stories. Yeah. So it's like, let's channel that over here. Yeah. And then it got channeled into music. I write through my pain. I write through the good times. I write through stories that just I see in other people's lives too. Yeah.
Story writing was like one of my first avenues of doing it, just because I think I didn't start writing until you said you were like 11, or
actually I started writing when I was 7.
Okay.
But I started taking lessons when I was 11.
I like kind of, I don't know. So I wrote a lot of poetry growing up, which was kind of a weird, like I look back on it, I'm like, I don't even know why I was doing that. I was like 7, 8, 9, 10, like 6th grade, 5th grade. And I stopped doing it for years. And then when I started playing music, it was kind of separate. And then I started writing about like 3 years into playing. And I was like, oh, like I can kind of do that. What just happened? And it like all clicked together.
Yeah.
But I definitely, when I started, I think I didn't really feel like it was either a combination of not wanting to touch on like personal topics for me, because I just was like, yeah, I don't want people to know me like that. And then, or feeling like it was just not a big enough deal to write something about, like just kind of downplaying however I felt. And so I would write about what you said, which is like stories that I thought were like, oh, that's a good story. That belongs to a song. You know? And I never thought that about what I had going on in my own life, which is crazy because it's like, it doesn't have to be like, you can write a song about something that's not, I mean, they can be happy and you can still write, you know what I mean? But it felt like it had to be something really big. And I think at whatever age that would have been, 16, 17, 18, I was like, there's nothing that cool going on in my life to write about.
I think that's funny too, because like, if you ever find, like I found some of my old stuff, like in the notebooks and stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, then you're just like, what were you
writing about? Yeah,
like,
yeah, for
how did
sure.
you, or some things are like, how'd you even know about this? Like, all right. Or I used to start like little singing groups.
Yeah.
In elementary school. Yeah.
I definitely shied away from singing for quite a few years. I think really what it ended up being was like, I got like started basically growing up, my voice started cracking all the time, just, you know, being a young man. And, as soon as that started happening, I was like, we are not singing in front of people anymore. We're going to wait till those stop. And so I like literally like 17, 18, 19 is where I started like really singing out in front of people, because I had just a really hard time. I don't know specifically why, but it took me probably like 3 straight years of vocal coaching to where I felt like I was like not really going to be bad in front of people.
Yeah.
And so by the time, but I was writing already, like even I would write stuff where I was like, I can't sing this, but I know what I want the melody to be, and then it was just like working until I could actually do those things that I would write. I know you already kind of answered this, which is our what we call our branded question, which is, what does music mean to you and why is it important? But I'll throw it out there, just if there's anything you want to add to it, just in general, what does music mean to you? Why is it important?
For me, I would say music means healing. And I think that it's important from, a creative standpoint, for us as individuals to heal and process a lot of the stuff that we go through. And I do feel like it is a universal connection point to God. There are things that, I don't know, it's like music is this ancient thing that existed in the spirit before it ever hit the natural. And like, I think it's important because each person is going to channel something different. Like what they hear is not going to be the same as the other person. And I feel like each person is a part of, like, it's going to sound corny, but I feel like each person is like this piece of God's song on the earth. And
that's a cool perspective.
And so I feel like that's why it's so important for us to tap into the sounds that we hear, to the things that we receive, and can put those out into the natural realm, because it's actually needed, you know? And I think music is important because it can change the things around us. Like sound vibrates, those things can change things even like on a molecular level. So it's like, it is, it's this big key to unlock so many things.
It's strange because you know it's important before you really understand why it's important to you. Like as a musician, like I remember some of the first CDs my dad ever bought me and was like, here, you can listen to this. And I just remember being just absorbed in it. And I was like, what? And like I look back, I'm like, why would I have really cared? Like there's no context for why you should care about a song that was written by somebody that lives, you know, states or many, many miles away from you, right? And for me, like, I remember just like as soon as I got my own little CD player, I had to have been like 5 or 6, just turning it all the way up. It was Linkin Park for me. I was a big little metalhead as a kid. Their album came out the day before my birthday when I was like 4. and my dad gave it to me, and it was like, just, I remember putting that album on and being so just like, wow, like these are real or whatever. And I think you get that with a lot of different artists. Like, I think there's so many artists out there that statistically there are quite a few like really honest songs, and occasionally you run into stuff where you're like, I don't think, you hear people and you're like, I don't know if that's real, but then there's a lot of them out there that you put them on, you could tell like it's their heart on a page, you know. And that was one of those ones for me. I wanted to kind of ask you, tell us a little bit about One Way North. What's like the background behind the name, and what's the vision for it, and what are you working on? Like, whatever you want to tell us, you tell us.
So, One Way North is basically, I'm trying to think of a way to kind of explain it. It is basically like, it's a mission.
Okay.
So everything about it is to point back up. And a lot of times, I think in church, the people who are not in those seats or not in those places, it's just like, you know, how do they get to experience, you know, God? And so one of the biggest things is like, I was not necessarily called to only operate at the church.
Yeah.
Which was a really tough
thing to
swing.
Been there. I feel that.
It was a tough thing to swing. So it's really about people outside of the church, and outside of church culture, being able to hear and experience the heart of God through music, that directs them back to Him. Because again, like I said, it's like, it's all a part of His song. Like, it's all His anyway. So, that is the goal of One Way North. It's also supposed to be a really safe space. So a lot of times we'll, I don't know, I kind of have like this, I don't know what you call it, a spirit of adoption type thing, but I'm just grabbing people, be like, you're family now. And so like, you can come in here and like, this is a safe place to just be. You don't have to put on, you don't have to strive to be. It's just like, be who God made you to be in this space. And so it's about creating music that speaks in parables, because that was something that was big, that when I was like, Lord, what is this? Like, what are we doing? What's going on? And it's like the way Jesus taught was in parables. It's like, not everybody is going to understand, but the people who are supposed to will.
You're right.
And so that's what kind of goes back into the storytelling, when I really opened up the space and was like, okay, Lord, you know, how do you want me to write, or what are things you want me to say? And He gave it to me in stories and in pictures like that. So I'm trying to say, like, the mission is to make sure that people can experience the presence of God, even if they don't know what it is yet. Because it's like, the key is to get there.
That's true.
We used to call it like
perspective for
sneaky Jesus.
Sneaky Jesus.
Like sneaky Jesus, you know, it's like you're in this moment and you can experience, you know, worship. You can experience an intimate moment and be like, what was that? But it's like, you were actually ministered to. Ha ha. And there's been so many times where, like, when we have performed, where somebody would come up later, or there was a show we did at the Evening Muse, and after we got done with the set and we finished, the guy who was closing came up and he was just like, I didn't even know anything in me was broken, but I feel like I was healed. And he said it, and I was just like, that's it, you know? Or people being like, yeah, that's my song. And then later, like, that was about Jesus? And they're like, oh. I was like, we got you already.
I've had an interesting relationship with the idea of, like, what does it mean to both, like, I guess for me, I think about it in the sense of, like, when I'm songwriting, I personally, I don't know if this is how it was for me at the start, but this part growing up, as you write, like, now, at this point, by the time I probably was maybe in my 20s, I started to think about it a little bit more. And there was a point where I recognized, like, I think that, not that necessarily every song I write is about God, but obviously you could submit everything you do to him, right? And like even in writing something that is really deep or really painful or really mad or whatever it is, like in my personal songwriting and the way that I approach that, like some of what I'm doing when I write it down is like trying to surrender it, right? And so there's a way to involve him in that process, no matter what the song's about.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a piece of that where I just kind of became convinced of that the more that I wrote. I'm like, man, like I'm writing these songs and they're all over the map. And, you know, out of 50, people will hear 2. And I'm like, so what's going on there? And like, for me, it really boils down to, it's like borderline, like prayer. Like a lot of the time where I'm recognizing like, oh, something's happening as I do this and and it's not just me doing it. And like, oh, I feel better. Like it's not really, I don't really even feel that way all the time. I just recognize like, man, there's so much. I don't sit around and write a lot of other things other than songs and like the occasional journal entry that I write. Like literally I'll write like half a journal entry and then it will turn into a song. So like I have it where I'm writing and then I stop the paragraph and then a song appears and I'm like done. Like and it was really the same thing for me. And so it kind of is this really cool process that I think not everyone sees, but I do think that when you put your heart into that process, that people they get it, even if they don't get it, which is what you're saying, you know. There's a piece of it where I think people recognize like, wow, there's something going on there that's more than what I'll probably ever know unless I really get to know that person and hear. And sometimes I think, depending on what you play or like depending on the situation, something happens with your song that you never even get to know about. Like, I mean, and there's a ministry in that all, whether it's, I played this song that was like about one of the hardest times in my life and somebody related to it and they never told me about it and they walked away. Yeah. You know, like I know and believe that happens. I've heard that happen for many other people where they're like, wow, like we just, this is kind of a story. We haven't shared this on the podcast yet. But we just went to play, we went to one of our favorite band's concerts. It's a band called Colony House. I started listening to them right when I started songwriting. Their first record came out like the week before we got married, which was 9 years ago now, because I have a cheat sheet on my hand with my tattoo. And it was this crazy experience. Very much felt like just a gift from the Lord. I ended up getting to go on stage and play guitar with them, which was really cool. They are the sons of Stephen Curtis Chapman, are the two boys. And we actually walked through a couple miscarriages this year after trying to have kids. That was like a really big deal. And I got to go on stage and play with our favorite band. And right after that, they played this song called Moving Forward, which has been the song we've been listening to for a minute when it comes to like just like it was just the song that we related to the most, and we've been playing. And they literally they brought me on stage.
It's kind of a Sneaky Jesus song.
I played my favorite.
We love Sneaky Jesus.
I played my favorite song with them on guitar, which was like a dream come true. And then as soon as we're done, they start playing our other favorite song, and it was just this experience of like we got to meet them, we talked with them, all that. We didn't say nothing about that, you know. And we were like in the crowd crying, full tears. Like it was just such a special moment that is very much like both a testimony for us personally, but also just on like what we're talking about, a testimony of the fact that like God works through music in moments that some people know about and some people never hear about, but it's effective and powerful, right? It was powerful for us.
I think that's a big thing too. It's just like when someone comes to like hear what you do, like the biggest thing is like, I don't want people to leave empty. You know, it's like people come in with so much stuff and carrying so much, and like you say, we've been in those positions too where we're going and it's just like, you know, I'm just gonna go enjoy music, and then there's just this moment where, you know,
freight train hits you and you're like, all right. Sometimes I have moments where I'm like, I wasn't ready for that. That's uncalled for, but I'm like happy I'm there,
and it's the best. But also just like and so that is, and that is tough too, because like with that whole miscarriage thing, like people aren't as open about it.
Yeah, it's not overly talked
it's just
about
like,
thing.
man, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
It's a struggle. Been there recently, very more recent than I would have liked, and so I definitely, definitely understand. But even in those spaces, where you go to God in the way you communicate to Him.
Those moments and the fact that music and songs that we love and things that we love and people that we love, right? Like memories that we look back on, all of it, man. Like they're all this like, they're all together in this one little moment. And that's not something that, like, sometimes you have one good thing happen. Other times you're there, something awesome happens. You're with the person in the world you love the most. You're with your favorite band. Like, it just was a dream come true kind of evening where I think when you're writing songs, I don't think we really think about the potential for those songs to create those kinds of moments. Like, it's very almost like sneaky. It's very sneaky. Like innocently, you're just writing the song. You didn't think about it that way.
Oh man, I have a song like that. When we hey boo,
hey Theo, shout out.
When we were first hanging out or whatever, hanging out, we were I'm the type of person, like, no matter what I'm doing, I'm probably singing something, and it'd be dumb, like, oh, I'm washing dishes or something crazy like that. Yeah. But there's a song we had come up with because he had this little statue of like a little gnome that had a leaf or whatever. And so we started singing about the statue. But then that particular song actually became one that we did live a lot.
One of the, okay, yeah.
And then eventually, like...
started off as like a little bit of a joke. And
it started off as a joke, but then like as we kept singing the song, I was like, wait a minute. And then when you get like revelation on something that at first you didn't think was much of anything. Yeah. And then it's just like, this song is about da 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 da, and now you're like, oh my gosh, like we had no idea that it would be this and that it would reach people in this particular way. It's one of the coolest things.
Well, I'm gonna take it a little lighthearted for a second, which is, how did you kind of develop your sound? Like, what are your influences musically?
Ooh, it is all over the place.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
It is all over the place. Well, one of my biggest musical influences, like when I was growing up, was Yanni. And because like he would pull all of these instruments from all over the world and like create these huge pieces with like opera singers. And I was just like, I just love this. I don't know why. Yeah. And so making stuff that sounds epic is like one of my favorite things to do. Yeah. And unfortunately, I never hear the solo acoustic version of any of my songs in my head. Never. I have never heard like, oh yeah, this is just a guitar or this is just a piano. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, so the choir is going to be doing this, and then the orchestra will be doing this. So yeah, Yanni is a big, huge influence. When I was really little, we had this CD called Encarta 96. Like, this is back in the day. And one of the things I used to do with my dad, we would put the CD in, and it was kind of like an audio dictionary or something like that. And we would go to the section where it had world music. And they just had like so many different places where they had gone to collect sounds and songs from different tribes and in Africa, like all over the world. And I would sit there for hours and listen to it or try to sing the words, and I would know the songs. And that's what I would do when I wanted to listen to music. I would put that in. So a lot of tribal stuff, classical Indian music, Arabic, like soukous, calypso, like just so many different things that I absolutely love, that influence what I do now. And then also I love I love electric guitar. So like that rock sound is something that is
I
dear.
hear that on $1 Million Dream when it comes in there. I'm like,
near
I like
and
that.
dear to my soul. Okay.
Guitar player first here, so
Oh my God. So yeah, epic, big, and having like the tribal things mixed in. And honestly, the songs that I have out now don't even touch on the full song. That
where you're headed.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no one really knows yet.
Yeah.
But like there's this whole like galactic side of me that exists that later on I will
expand on the word galactic.
kind of like
I mean, you don't have to.
So
you go for it. We'll cut it out if you don't like
listen, I'm big on, so like I said, just like this whole thing about being a daughter of the king. But I'm like, I feel like I'm an alien queen. And so that is, so I actually wrote a song called Alien Queen where I'm like, you know, I come from someplace else and like I'm here on this earth, but you know, passing through.
Okay.
But it's like I come from somewhere else. I'm royalty from somewhere else. And that's what I mean by galactic.
Okay,
so there's a lot of sounds and things that are reflected in stuff that hasn't been released yet.
Yeah.
Where it is from that part of me.
Very cool. Very cool.
And it's so I think the last thing you said, you were like, it's like African music but on Mars, but with like classical. And so that's like
one of the joys of making music, right? Like you
can do whatever.
Literally, like everything that inspires you as an artist on some level, you're intaking and then going like, all right, like you're not just trying to create that, you're trying to create something totally unique, but that has the things you love within it, you know? And it's like, that's such a special thing. So that's cool. That's awesome. Talk to us a little bit about $1 Million Dream.
Ooh.
That's the most recent one.
Yes, it is.
That you have, and I also, just personally, because I'm always interested in like how artists approach like the, I don't want to use the word marketing, but you don't, just, that's an imperfect word. But the like you have, I want to say there's the extended, there's the normal one, and then there's the reprise as well. Like, what was the vision behind that within this answer? Please?
So,
because I'm genuinely curious. It's a cool idea. I haven't seen it before.
So first, I have been known to write super long butt songs.
Okay.
And one of the things that I know that currently they're like, yeah, long songs really aren't in right now, you know, 2-minute, 3-minute bops, and then let's get out of there.
Right.
And I'm just like,
no,
that's not me at my core. At my core, I'm like, we will tarry.
Yeah.
We will sit in this song as long as we need to. And that's like the old school part of me. But for that, I was like, I want to make sure that everybody can get whatever they need. And so I'm like, for my people who want the full entree, like you want the whole chorus.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, we got it down to 5 minutes. It was 5, but I'm like, it's shorter. Woo, woo.
Yeah.
And so that was for the people. I was like, okay, maybe your attention span isn't there, and that's cool. Like, here you go. And then it's like for people who just want to skip all that and want the little 2-minute reprise, you got that there. And so then I didn't feel like I was compromising.
Right.
You know, and also I'm like, I believe that people can get used to what you give them. And I was like, so people are used to short things because that's just what you gave them, and now you continue to give them this. And I'm like, if you give them something else, it's like, it's different, and it gives them a chance to actually absorb what they're hearing.
Yeah. The TikTok scroll has created a thing.
And I really
Attention
feel
span
like
problem.
it can be reversed.
Yeah.
It's just about what you continue to feed people. And so I'm like, I don't want to feed people something that, not saying that a short song is watered down or anything. I think that there's mastery in putting everything you need right there. But I also feel like there are times where you need to be able to experience something. And so recently I have been challenged in not calling my songs just a song. I'm like, this is an experience. So I want people to feel it. I want them to feel like they're in the room when it's happening. And so that's what I wanted with $1 Million Dream. And so we put all 3 on there. I was like, for whoever, whatever you need, it's there.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, people went for the full thing.
Yeah.
Like, and we're just like, yeah, this is it. I got it on loop in my car. And, you know, so that was really cool that it was received so well.
Yeah.
But with $1 Million Dream, I used to work, we're naming names. My God. I used to work at Cracker Barrel.
Okay.
And it was a training ground. That's what I'll call it. It was a training ground.
Mine was Walmart. It's all right.
It was a training ground. But I remember there was this day I was getting ready for work, and I was like, God, I can't do this again. I just can't. I don't want to go. I really don't want to go. And I was putting on my little apron, and I just heard, my lap's not full of luxury. Oh, no. And then I just started singing. And literally, like, and it rolled. Like, I was just getting ready, and I started singing. I just hit record on my phone, and then by the time I got to work, the entire song was there. So then it was just about putting music to it.
Yeah.
And I think that song, that was what? How long ago now? 8 years? I sat on that song for about 8 years. Yeah. For a while. And like we would do it live, and it's just like everyone would sing the oh no part, like everyone had their favorite part of the song. And so people would be like, are you gonna do the Hyundai song? Are you gonna do the Hyundai song? Which is another thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'll name a song, but then they'll just find a different word in the song to call the song.
Like, call it something else, yeah.
And I'm like, y'all, it's called $1 Million Dream. But yes, also known as the Hyundai song.
I like it.
But
it's a good working title for sure. If that was on the studio whiteboard, like that's kind of where that would land for me. Like, all right.
But yeah, so that one, it took a long time to get that one together, mainly because I was in my own way. And so last year, my husband was basically like, hey, listen, look. This is what you want to do, right? I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do. He's like, so we're going to do it, right? I'm like, yeah, we're going to do it. And he's like, all right, so in like 6 months, you're going to be in the studio with a song, right? And I was like, yeah, okay. And so that's how we got in the studio to do $1 Million Dream. And like, it's a big kind of like rock ballad thing. And again, it's like, that's my heart. Like, I love just like, but the process took longer than I thought it would. Like, I was like, all right, we're here. I'm finally in the studio. We're going to boom, 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 bam, boom.
Yeah.
No. And so, again, it was the first time doing a project this big.
Yeah.
So, because my thing was like, my first release, it was just solo. I was playing on piano and just singing, and it was kind of like a nice, simple thing to do. But this one, I'm like, there's a lot of moving parts. We have the band, we've got the singers, and just trying to figure out how to get all those pieces working together. So we went to GAT3, which, like, shout out to Susan and Glenn.
Yeah, we've gotten to go there once through the years.
I think we were there for choir part.
It's a pretty fun experience for sure. They're great.
They're amazing. And so like that was one of the places like I feel like family here. This feels really great. And we had everything we needed. Chris Green, I believe, was the engineer that helped bring everything out. So we started in March of last year, and like And I had the nerve to walk out and be like, all right, everything's good, but now I hear a choir.
It's always the choir, right?
Now I hear
it's always
a choir.
the thing that comes at the end where we're like, what if we added a choir?
What if we had a choir? And I remember Theo being like, do you now? And I was like, yeah, I do. I really do hear a choir on this. And so then we had that extra time that it took to kind of pull all that together. Yeah. But it was so worth it.
Yeah. That was what we ended up going for. We had friends that were tracking a record there and they wanted to do a choir. And so we went in to be a part of the choir for an afternoon, which was a good time. It's a very cool space for sure.
It is so good. And then they've expanded as well.
Yeah, I probably haven't seen any of the expansions because that would have been like 2018 or 17 that I saw.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
It's a lot of good stuff they got over there now.
So when it came to like tracking the song, I guess other than the choir, what was like the kind of the main, I guess maybe hurdle, or what was the thing that you were really trying to accomplish in there that was with that song? What was the big thing that you were trying to make sure you achieved with that?
So with this song, I wanted it to feel like you were in the room. So the way I put it, I was like, when you hear it, I was like, I want the edges snatched. Like, I want you to feel like you were blown away kind of by like this wall of sound, but like also you were there, experiencing it with the people who were in the room. That was my main thing. I was like, it should feel like you're there. It should feel like you had fun and like you just left the show like, whoo, yes, yes. And so everything that we did was kind of set up for that. When we first went in to record the instruments, we did a full live room. So everything went in, and we recorded all at the same time. And so I think I was in the booth with the piano, and then the guys, they were out in the live room, bass, and then the 2 guitars.
This is just the instruments? Yeah, okay.
Just the instruments. And I think like we went and prepared at least. So we got out of there at least like 2.5 hours, and we were in and we were out. But we did one take. We did the wild take. That did not have the click track. And of course, that ended up being the one that I said, I want to do this version of the song. And I just remember everyone in the room being like, really don't? Really? You want to choose the one that doesn't have the... And I was like, listen, I'm sorry. But so there were some things we did end up have to go back and redo. So I think we redid drums.
Like the entire drum track? Or okay.
We went back in, redid drums, redid bass, and redid keys.
Okay.
So, but also because initially when they had set it up, they had set it up for a lighter sound. Okay. And then they're like, oh, you're doing rock music. So like there were like different cables and different setups and things and sets. Stuff around. Yeah, just to get the sound right.
Yeah, that literally happened to us Sunday. He was live tracking the church songs, and he comes up and he's like, I can slip second service's stuff in for first service if we mess up or something. I was like, I don't use a click track, so no, you can't.
Yeah, you were leading,
and he was like, babe, and I was like, I'm sorry.
I didn't know.
It's better without the click track.
I already tracked it, so I like worked out this whole plan in my head. She was like, yeah, the click was off.
Sorry.
I was like, oh, that's come on.
Like, no,
could have told me.
You're stuck with first service. Sorry.
Song.
So when we were like gonna have you on, and I was like looking on your social media and stuff, it looks like you're also a music teacher.
I am. Yes.
So tell us about that. What do you teach? What's your favorite thing about teaching?
So I teach voice, piano, and songwriting, and those are the main ones. A tiny itty bit of beginner guitar. But yeah, those are my main things. I've been teaching for a while, but as far as with Bold Music, I've been there about 4.5 years now. So it's been a really cool experience. I did not think I was going to be a teacher.
I have a hard time when I've tried it. I've been very, I
was like, I didn't think I was going to be a teacher. Both of my parents were teachers. But I was like, I never thought it'd be me doing this. But like, one of my favorite things about teaching is those moments where you can see a student have kind of like a light bulb moment, but I call them like breaking the ceiling. So generally speaking, like when you come in, you're like, all right, here are my limitations, and I know this is where it's at, and we're going to work on them, but people don't always see themselves getting on the other side of them.
Yeah.
But those moments when they do and they realize it, that's it for me. That is like the main reason why I continue to teach, is because I'm like, other people who have visions, who have goals, that like they're willing to work on it. And I'm like, we can do whatever we got to get you on the other side. So what you think limits you now is no longer going to be in your way later. Yeah.
What do you think, like, what's a good piece of advice you think you'd give somebody who's like new or starting out, trying to learn music, trying to see if it's their thing?
I would say give yourself all the grace possible. Give yourself grace, and this is gonna rhyme, and I hate rhyming sometimes. Give yourself the grace and give yourself the space. It's like a lot of times when you have people who are pursuing things in excellence, we end up having really terrible conversations with ourselves. It's like it's not really a healthy way of learning, and so, which is why a lot of people at certain places you get really frustrated. But it's internal. And so a big thing is like you have to change your inner narrative in order to enjoy the learning process and enjoy the growing pains. And so that's my biggest piece, is like you have got to give yourself all of the grace possible. Because if you come in and you're speaking to yourself negatively when you mess up, it's like chances are you're doing that in other places in your life, and it's something that you kind of got to catch and correct. And so it's like, make your journey a healthy space, as healthy as possible.
Do you use voice notes when you write? Like on your phone, do you record what you write?
Sometimes,
I do that a lot, and like what I started to notice is like some of my favorite songs like that I've written, if I go back and I listen to the first like 10 minutes of that recording, it sounds like totally bad, right? And that's the reality is that it's not like in the process of writing a song you just like were totally silent and then you thought of like the best thing possible, you knew all the chords and you played it perfectly the first time you sang a note. It's not real life.
That's the issue, right? A lot of people, we view things at the end product. And so a lot of starter or beginners, they are viewing someone else's like certain place in their journey. And they're seeing themselves in that space, and it's just like, hey, listen.
You're not there yet.
You're not. Listen. And there's so many times where like I have a student and I'll talk to them on the phone, and they'll be like, yes, I this and I that and da 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 ba 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 ba. And I'm like, And when I first started teaching, I used to take that at face value, be like, absolutely, all right. And so I know when I come in, you're going to be this, top of the line. And then you come in and you're just like, oh, that's their perception of what they want to be. But it's like, it's going to take a little while. And so it's like, don't be afraid to start at ground zero. Do not be afraid to like just kind of throw out all the things you think you know and just start over from scratch. Like, it's work. Sometimes it does suck, but it's going to be worth it.
Well, kind of on that note, and then so we got 2 questions left. This is second to last. Kind of on the note of like it taking a little bit of time. If you jump ahead 5 years, musically, professionally, where do you see yourself? What are the goals you have for that kind of time frame?
So in 5 years, I would like to have at least 2 or 3 albums out, and at least be touring on one of them. I would like to work with the Charlotte Symphony Orchestra for a project. I think that would be really cool.
Awesome.
And I do see myself teaching master classes, just for like kind of overall performance and like building healthy spaces to become a creative. Because a lot of it is just, it happens internally and on your own. So I would like to create spaces for people to be and figure out their stuff without a lot of external pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to close. I have one question left, which is, what is the song you're performing today and the story behind it? I've heard it's new. I'm excited.
It is new.
I always love it when that happens.
It is new. So the song is called Into Horizon. And basically, it's one of those songs that, like, there are times where I'm doing something or sitting somewhere and I can hear kind of like this urge, like literally in my spirit, like, go to your keyboard. Mm-hmm. And so, like, when I hear it, I go. And when those times happen, there feels like there was just something that was sitting there that you just have to, like, pull down, but it was there. And that's how this song happened. So as it came, I realized it was really more so about how people who carry light need to have the confidence to be the light in dark spaces, and basically like, kind of like walk into horizon, like where it looks like the sky meets the earth. Mm-hmm. That is, I think what we're called to do. And like in that place, there's freedom. In that place, there's healing. In that place, there's kind of like a relief from a lot of burdens. And that's what the world needs. And so, but if we're not those things, how is it going to get here?
Yeah.
So that's what the song's about.
That's awesome. I'm excited to hear it.
Well, we've reached the end. Domenice, thank you so much for coming on. It was a great conversation. Shout out real quick where people can find you online or social media and that kind of thing.
You can find me on Instagram at @1_way_north. You can find me on TikTok at @OneWayNorth. This is the number 1, not 1 written out. So 1.
Awesome. And on Spotify and Apple Music and everything too.
All of them.
Awesome. All right. Well,
here is Into Horizon by One Way North. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
The land is dark and in their hearts people are broken. Don't know what to do and so confused they don't know what hope is. With no one in sight for the tears that they cry. Some give up the fight deep in their mind, believing the lie. The lie that they're worthless and so alone, alive with no purpose. But that's not the truth, and it's time to choose. Go put on your focus. We find the answer in love's higher power. You stand with me, I stand with you. That makes us stronger. We're not afraid of the dark. Here it's coming. I stay running with my tribe. We be lighting up the night. Hand to the sky for the light that is coming. Open your heart and go. We're not afraid of the dark. Here it's coming. On my left and on my right, fire burning in our eyes. Hand to the sky for the light that is coming. Open your heart and go into horizon. No time to waste, pick up the pace, we gotta get moving. The channel is on, they playing your song, you better get tuned in. Don't hesitate and get wiped off the plate. The meal was already paid for, you should've just ate it. Lay down your edges, put down your damage, don't take it with you. Jump in this river, healing water will cleanse you. Then you will rise on the other side, stronger than you've ever been before, ready to fight. We're not afraid of the dark, here it's coming. I stay running with my tribe, we be lighting up the night. Hand to the sky for the light that is coming. Open your heart and go. We're not afraid of the dark, here it's coming. On my left and on my right, fire burning in our eyes. Hand to the sky for the light that is coming. Open your heart and go into horizon. Into horizon. Into horizon. thoughts begin to come alive. The sun is rising.